Welcome into another edition of Gas. I am Gresh. He is Jason Anik.
You were playing everybody and we're winning the game last night.
The head coach is fighting people on the sideline.
What do you got for me?
I know you're a part of the Tight Pants Society.
No fucking way is that a gimme, right?
Into another edition of Gas. I am Gresh. He is Jason Anik. And boy, do we have a lot to get to today because the New England Patriots just continue to win and win and win. I know we have our picks, which I am changing right now at the end of the show. And we have some baseball, kind of. There's at least a World Series to be played. Jay, I'm sure that I'm sure, I don't know, are you going to Vegas? Or no, wait. Where's the pay-per-view
I'm not going to
week?
Vegas. And Bono,
no.
let's get that. Let's get that.
Where's the pay-per-view? Where's the pay-per-view this weekend, damn it?
Am I on mute? I don't think I am. Hey,
no, you're good.
Bone, let's get that Viva Gresh Vegas off the screen. There we go. That's yesterday's news. UFC 321 Abu Dhabi, Gresh. My brother doesn't pull the trigger on the international travel for me yet, bro. So I'll be watching that one with you boys.
Would you want to go? Like, are you intellectually curious, or are you curious to go to like Qatar or Saudi Arabia or any of those places?
It's so funny. I love that Qatar was the first word out of your mouth because my boy Bilal Muhammad is fighting in Qatar on November 22nd. And it's like 20 plus hours. And it's, you know what I mean? I can't make that one happen, you know? But it's not indifferent to like Abu Dhabi, Gresh. Like, I don't know what my brother's itinerary is, but it's not cheap. And like to justify for me between like 5 to 10 G's to get to one of these things.
Right.
When I go to a lot of domestics, I haven't yet pulled the trigger. I've gone to some of the Canada ones. I've been to Mexico, but not yet to those. But it's so funny that you said Qatar, bro, because like I feel like for Bilal, some of his boys got to get to Qatar. It's going to be a tough place to get to. And I didn't intend to go here, but we went to Manchester when he won the belt in in July of 2024. He was supposed to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov in Vegas in December, but then he had the staph infection. And then, of course, it was Montreal where he lost to Jack Della Maddalena. So Bilal Muhammad not been in the U.S., but yeah, Qatar's too far, Gresh, and Abu Dhabi at this stage too fat even for my brother's bank.
No, you know what's interesting is you know, there are some people who can do it, but would say maybe I'm not going to go. Like I've talked about it with my wife; she has no interest. Now, my youngest would hop on a plane and go to Qatar or the UAE in a minute. I don't know if we go to Saudi Arabia just yet. Like he and I talked about it. But yeah, if I could wrap my head around the cultural stuff, it would be interesting just to take in a UFC event there. Like whenever they go to Australia, it looks very similar to what it does in the US. But when it's in like Dubai or UAE or Saudi Arabia, it's got a whole different feel to it. And I would be interested in seeing that, considering I have said many, many times, Jay, and I really believe it. Now, I've been to like Super Bowls and stuff like that. There is nothing like a truly big, hyped UFC pay-per-view. Like UFC 300's atmosphere was like nothing I had ever been to in all of my years in covering sports. So for me, I'm not as much curious of the country. I'm more curious of the in kind of arena and the fight experience and what it would be like over there.
Dana White would be so happy to hear you talk about the in-arena fight experience because that's so fucking important to them, bro.
Yeah.
And it is interesting when you talk about the travel because my brother John, if he wasn't doing this for a living, he wouldn't go anywhere. He wouldn't go anywhere. Do you know what I mean? Like he talks about when they go to Australia and, you know, you get to Sydney, right? And then it's a whole nother to Perth. You're driving, you know, a whole nother.
It's 4 more hours to get to Perth, right? It's like flying from Miami to Vegas when you get to Sydney to go to Perth. It's great. And you've gone like 15 hours just to get to Sydney.
More. Exactly. So it's just crazy. And so the idea of the travel, but like for you, right? I think I mentioned this on the last show, but you recently took the Southwest flight to Vegas and that's where you pick your own seat, right? And you had picked the seat with the extra leg room, right? So for you, right? How open, like, let's say I was like, all right, Gresh, all expenses paid, you and me going to Dubai this weekend. Or, what are your thoughts?
Oh, dude, I would be in. I would dip into savings to go on one of those. Well, listen, here's the thing.
Now you got me thinking.
No, but here's the thing now, right? I would do it with you in a heartbeat because you also have special access, okay? So that experience wouldn't just be like, oh, I got gifted a trip and I'm going to go to this pay-per-view in a faraway land. If I'm going with you, that is the reason to spend the extra money, because the attachment with your brother and all of the stuff that I would get to see that I would never get to see if I were just a fan going over there. So the answer would be 100% with you, yes, in a heartbeat. Would I just go with a normal human who had no special access, to be real about it? I don't know. I'd have to think about that one.
So when the UFC was in Boston, I remember, and I don't think I had met you at that time, even though I was a fan.
You and John came into EEI because I was still working there. And that was, quote unquote, formally the first time that we met, when you came in with John and did the hit with me and Foye.
That was the first time we met. And that was before.
That's right. And that was the Thursday before the pay-per-view. Okay, so that would have been 3 days before my wife spilled wine on your brother's suit.
Okay. See, that's where I was going with this. So for me, for those of you that don't know that, I'm a fanboy. Like I swear to God, I learned about Gresh listening to him on the radio growing up. I told Gresh this a long time ago, but I listened to Gresh in like the early 2000s, driving in Florida on my commute every day, listening to Gresh and knowing he was sort of a New England guy, but kind of listening to his national stuff. So when I got to come do that with you, and then when you had reached out to me like, hey, would it be okay if I like say hi to John? I'm like, what are you, Gresh? Of course it is. But then what happened? Some wine spilled, but all for naught. It wasn't a big deal after all.
Oh
right?
My God, dude. So what happened was my family was geeked that there was a chance that they could meet John. So there was the hotel right around right near the Garden, right? And that's where John and DC were staying. And my family and I spent the night there because we knew we were getting out at 1 a.m. And the boys actually, that was an O'Malley fight.
Yep.
And I think that when UFC was videoing O'Malley pulling up and leaving the Garden, my 2 kids were right there at like 3 o'clock in the morning in there, like cheering him, and made the video and stuff like that.
I love it.
So anyway, so John's in a car outside because he gets squired everywhere, as he should. He's the voice of UFC. He hops out of the car. Now, there's also other normal UFC humans that are there. Like, if they saw him, they'd shit their pants, which is what they did. So he hopped out and he goes, there's no way I can't get out and give you a hug. And we have a big embrace. And my freaking wife, right, who has moments around famous people, as when we were in Vegas, she like stopped and almost lunged at Richard Childress, one of the owners of one of the biggest NASCAR teams going. She goes in for the hug, and John does as well. And my wife's got a cup in her hand, and it was white wine, praise God. And boom, there it was. And she goes, oh my God, he came in so hot on the hug, I think I spilled on him. And then I looked and I died. Bro, I didn't know how to react. And when your brother ultimately drove off, I walked around the block because I had such anxiety that we screwed up his suit.
It's hilarious.
So we're in the Garden. I need to see the open, right? Because I know from the television standpoint, if they're sitting down, then we completely fucked his suit. But if they're standing up or they're covering it up or whatever, then it was okay. When I saw your brother doing the open with Rogan and DC standing up, I thought, oh, okay.
We're good.
We were good. We were okay. Now, here's what you'll appreciate this part of it. While this commotion is going on with your brother and the spill and people want to fucking take pictures with him, and I have to like literally put my arm around him and be like, come on, and walk him to the car. Guess who slinks off behind us unnoticed? DC. He slinks into a car. My wife like waves to him. He doesn't wave back. Now my wife hates DC forever. And I told her, I said, I don't think that's uncommon, babe, so don't freak out. But he was the happiest person that this whole thing went down was DC, because he got away from the people who had like their DC dolls waiting for him to sign them.
I love it. Well, when you say my brother came in hot for the hug, like that was so well put, because it's his fault. Like I'm sure he came. You know how me and John, our boy Big Ron calls us twitchy, right? Gresh, next time I hug you, I'll like bowl you over, right? That's how it goes. Yeah,
I love it.
Cody writes John is a heavy hugger. So anyway, dude,
I know we distract ourselves very well.
You do, I know. So, but before we get into topics, because I don't believe this is one of them. Real quick, we don't talk a lot of hockey on this show, but Brad Marchand returns to the Boston Garden tonight, if I'm not mistaken, right? And I know how much love we have for Brad Marchand. I just want to real quick just bang on this, right? I don't think anyone else is ever wearing number 63, right? 16 combined seasons with the Providence and Boston Bruins, was a huge part of that Stanley Cup win in 2011. Really was super durable over his 12-year career with Boston, integral part of the Panthers winning the Cup last year. I just think about these moments when these athletes come back, and this is a kind of a very high level one we're getting here tonight in Boston, and I didn't want it to go by the wayside.
No, that's a good pull by you, because it will be really emotional for Bruins fans, as it should be. When you think about the last 15 years of Bruins hockey, I think for a lot of fans, there are two people you think about, Bergeron and Marchand. And those two are so connected. And when it went from Bergie being the captain to then Marshy being the captain, I think for a lot of the real diehard hockey hardos, that's like a, time-honored tradition, something worth recognizing. Well, look at that guy. I mean, even at 36 years old, he's a little prick out on the ice, and he's not going to score 40 goals a year anymore, but you can't tell me that guy doesn't add value to any organization that he's in.
Oh, dude, and hearing you say Bergie and Marshy, even not in a Boston accent, just gets me excited. And I think Marchand, which is just great, I think he's in the midst of, just got a fine for something that he did, right? So anyway, we can move on to the first topic, unless you got something you're chomping on. But 60, don't you think his number gets retired, Gresh?
I think eventually. I know that, I know with the Celtics, they can't retire numbers anymore because they wouldn't have any left. I don't think the Bruins are that bad, but
Chara just got announced, right? Chara's is going up this year. So
unless it gets antagonistic for some reason, which I don't necessarily think it will, eventually that'll happen. Yeah. But I don't think Marchand's done. He's got a couple more years left, I think, to go out there and be a pest. Yeah, absolutely. The only thing that I was hot on was, Jay, we use the word unbelievable in sports a lot, probably too much, right? It's hyperbole. Yes. And then you get what Shohei Ohtani did in Game 4 of the National League Championship Series, where this guy hits 3 bombs, including a leadoff homer. So he gives himself a lead before he even touches the mound. How sick is that? 3 for 3, 3 bombs, and he goes 6 innings of 2-hit ball with 10 strikeouts. I'm not a big baseball guy whatsoever. But this would be Tom Brady doing what Tom Brady did against Atlanta in the Super Bowl, except also adding 2 sacks onto it as well. Like, this is when you really, like, the word unbelievable is thrown around, but when you really think about, would you be able to logically walk up to another human being and sell them on, oh yeah, this guy from Japan is going to come over and spin 10 strikeouts over 6 innings and hit 3 home runs? You would say, what is he, a mythical figure like Sid Finch or something like that? And that really hits the unbelievable part of it for me with Ohtani.
I absolutely love that you went there. And I'll tell you, right? He's the greatest athlete of our lifetime, and he's on a pedestal, right? My brother, you can talk about Michael Jordan and LeBron James all you want. You can decide who's better. You can talk about Tom Brady all you want. This guy is on a pedestal, right?
No doubt.
He's Babe Ruth to the nth degree. There are no words. I'm so glad you did what you did with the word unbelievable. And what I keep saying to everyone amidst just that magical night, right, in the biggest of spot is, did you happen to see the second home run? Like, the second home run just is it's a golf shot, Gresh.
Yeah.
This guy, I don't have the words. I'm so glad you went there. It's like nothing we've ever seen. And while I know we're going to get to the World Series and I'd like to look at Toronto, it's hard for me to with this guy on board.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I want to take Toronto seriously, but in all honesty, as we segue into the World Series, I don't care about the series. I care about Ohtani. I mean, and I hate to say that because I know the Dodgers are winning the series. But for me, it's going to be, I'll tell you what, Jay, you and I have the same affection for the Pedro Manny era in Boston, right? There were times where people would say, oh, it's Pedro night. And that meant you flipped on Nesson and you were seeing what Petey did. To me, it's Ohtani night. If I flip on the World Series, it might be after he hits a bomb and is about to come up to bat again, or if the guy gets a turn on the mound. I'll be watching that game because I want to see what the guy does, and I don't want to be disrespectful to the teams or the sport or anything like that. I know the Dodgers are winning that series. I don't care in how many games. Give me 7, so I might have 7 opportunities to watch Ohtani do something special.
Unbelievable. And it's Ohtani night every night, right? Because he's in the lineup. You know, that line, Gresh, if you're as bullish as you are on this team, I would strongly consider a heavy wager at minus 215 because maybe the Blue Jays are getting a little bit of love because they have home field advantage, perhaps, and, you know, winning game 7, whatever it may be. I believe 7 of 8 Game 7s in baseball had been won by the road team prior to last night. Well, that was a crazy game last night. But for these Blue Jays, you know, I know a lot of people in Canada. There's a lot of sports handicappers in Canada. I work for Oddshark based in Canada. I've crossed paths with a lot of Toronto Maple Leafs fans and Toronto Blue Jays fans. And I remember Joe Carter in 1993. And so for me, I'm really happy for the Toronto Blue Jays community. You agree?
Yeah, they suffer. Well, they suffer with the Maple Leafs. You know, they're up there, and as Zolak calls it, Squid Square, standing outside, watching their team on the road, and then they blow it and lose. It's great. So there is. I have made fun of Toronto a lot, but you know what? I do believe the Dodgers are spending $400 million on payroll, and I think Toronto is at like 270. Spending doesn't guarantee you're going to win. Spending guarantees you'll be in the hunt, or that you should be, or that you can win. It's really hard to do it with a $50 million, you know, or an $80 million payroll, whatever in the hell, like the Oakland A's are kind of rolling out right now. These are 2 high payroll teams, and, you know, I hope it kind of reminds everybody that, no, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to win, but it's really hard to win at the highest level against those rosters if you don't spend, you know, 200 plus million every year.
I agree. You know, Cody has the topic skippable World Series. And what I'll say about that, you got to think Major League Baseball is so happy Toronto emerged victorious last night, unless I'm missing something, right?
Oh, no, I disagree. I think MLB, I'll tell you why, just quickly, because the Canadian ratings don't matter to MLB. They now have to hope LA carries the rating. And so that's why I think they would have loved an American market.
Okay, so you very well may be right about that. I guess what I'll say in terms of overall fan interest, and maybe it's not a tangible argument that I'm about to make, but the West Coast can get lost in professional sports. And if you're telling me Seattle and Los Angeles out on the West Coast playing in the World Series, I'm probably looking to bet the Dodgers, where this interjection of the Toronto Blue Jays, who played in a very tough division this year, right? Yankees and Red Sox are really not good. You know, Toronto really had a tremendous run, and I like the mojo, George Springer, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., you know, so I think potentially this is the right sort of elixir that could get in the way of the Dodgers, especially with home field advantage. I'm not necessarily saying I'm going to make a pick here, but in terms of the interest, right, I do believe that Toronto Blue Jays sort of fan base is live, and I think this. To me, I have some friends that are really into baseball fans. One in particular down here in Miami, diehard Marlins fan. He watches all this postseason stuff, and I think it's going to be a more interesting series for him. I guess I think Toronto has a better chance to win than I would have thought Seattle did.
I would agree with you on that. Here's what I would say about Toronto. If Vlad Guerrero Jr. can get off early and have a good game 1, and the personality come out, and you see that he's a hoss, you know, trotting that big ass around the bases, I think that would tantalize America a little bit. Again, I go back to, I think of a lot of the baseball formative years for people like you and I, and it was easy to sell Manny Ramirez, David Ortiz, and the guys who can hit the ball out of the ballpark. And that's how you win in the postseason now, is drive the ball out of the ballpark. So I think for overall interest, if Vlad Guerrero can get off to a good start and have a good game one, we know what's on the other side with Ohtani. It's going to sell. I think for a lot of people, it'll be, can Toronto really isn't a no-lose situation, Jay. Think about it. I know they have the opportunity, but in the court of public opinion, nobody is picking them to win at all. They are the truest of underdogs.
I well put. And I also think that the way this is sort of played out gives them a good chance to sort of upset the apple cart, right? In the American League Championship Series, they lose the first 2 games at home, right? Then they win 4 the next 5, right? To win the first 2, then you go win games 3 and 4, then a heartbreaking game 5, come back home, take care of 6 and 7. Sometimes, it's kind of like liking a team that has to play in the wild card round versus a team on a bye. This Toronto team is going to be ready to go in game 1. And if I'm Toronto and I even get one of these first 2 at home, we're in a better position now than we were heading out to the West Coast in the American League Championship Series. And to your point, I kind of like the house money thing. Fuck them $400 million. Let's get ours.
Well, and you know what? And that's the great attitude to be able to have. Listen, this is like any team that played the Patriots in the Super Bowl with Tom Brady after 2010, right? You're trying to slay the dragon. Like, think about where the Dodgers are right now. They were Patriots 2018. So you're going to get everybody's best shot. And if you're Toronto, you have every reason to rally around the powerhouse that is the Dodgers. But for me, I don't know when they're going to announce pitching matchups. I know it's going to start on Friday. Just tell me when Ohtani is on the bump so I can make sure to have the calendar clear, because I want to see that.
Well, and for those of us that aren't diehard baseball fans, I haven't seen Ohtani pitch that much. There have been certain spots in his career where he's been banged up or they've sort of been light with him in terms of his pitching output, right? You see the highlights. We talk about this East Coast bias. We don't see a lot. So I'm with you. I'm very interested to see him pitch. And I always like tuning in to see good old friend Mookie Betts. What's he got? 3 rings so far?
That was, I read something online where the Dodgers have already recouped in like international advertising or whatever, the $700 million that they have spent on Ohtani. I want you to think about that, right? So it's year what?
Spent a lot of it. Go ahead.
It's year 2 of Ohtani. And when we sit here wondering if the Boston Red Sox are going to make investments in players and things like that, you can't tell me that the $385 million the Mookie Betts wanted to stay here in Boston, that they wouldn't have monetized the way the Dodgers have with Ohtani. It's just really frustrating when there isn't, a global thought process, let's say.
That one will sting forever, that Mookie.
No,
Betts.
It really will. No, it very much will. All right. Why don't we move on to UFC 321? I don't know where the hell it is this weekend, but I know that it is Tom Aspinall finally getting back into the octagon. They were dicking around with everything with John Jones, and Aspinall sitting in England just getting older. So now he's going to fight Ciryl Gane for the real world heavyweight championship. And Jay, I'm just excited to see Aspinall back in the ring. I'm one of those who thought he would have been a handful for John Jones to have to deal with. And now I get to see this guy back in there against somebody who, when I first saw Ciryl Gane, and they said he was 6'4" and 265 pounds, and he looked the way he did, I thought, oh my God, this guy, but both of these are 2 horses that are in there Saturday night for the heavyweight championship. And I can't be more excited about it. I love it that size-wise, we're going to get 2 265-pound guys, or maybe 280 by fight night, in there beating the shit out of each other.
I agree with what you said about Tom Aspinall. I think he would have been favored against John Jones. I'm sure that information's available, but I agree with you. John Jones not a heavyweight for me. We could have that conversation for days. But I agree
with you. Yeah, he's the best light heavyweight ever by far. It might be the best heavyweight. But
Love
my
to
God,
see
I'm
him
with
fight
you.
Poatan at some point, John Jones. But what I'll say about this matchup, the athleticism of Gane. If anybody hasn't seen Ciryl Gane play basketball, go down a rabbit hole and watch that, right? He can match the athleticism more than I think people can of Tom Aspinall, right? I think a lot of us want are happy Tom Aspinall's making the walk again because we're excited to see him win and keep this thing moving forward.
Yes,
It's going to be very interesting to see if Ciryl Gane gets in the way of this. The way I feel like Ciryl Gane has had some great moments, and I also think he's been wildly disappointing in both his performances and his results sometimes in the octagon. Moments, forgive me, I didn't go down a long rabbit hole here, but some performances were just not a lot of activity and then just some spots. So it's hard for me. I believe the line Aspinall was minus 380, something like that. Gane coming back 3-1 underdog. It's very difficult for me to envision Ciryl Gane emerging victorious. However, I think if you're Ciryl Gane, you got to say, all right, I need to find my way into round 2 under every circumstance possible, right? I'm going to get on a bike. I'm going to just warm up and do a little cardiovascular workout here for 5 minutes. The last thing I want, you got to take, even if the explosivity of Aspinall is down to 92% in round 2, you got to sort of get on a bike a little bit if you're Ciryl Gane and make it more of a well-rounded mixed martial arts fight, in my opinion, because I do still believe Tom Aspinall possesses just the power and the strength that Ciryl Gane doesn't coming back, in my opinion.
Agreed. No, I mean, if you're gone, you don't want any of the hands of Aspinall, or you will be gone to sleep. And if you're gone, don't you got to try to? I know he's got the Muay Thai background and stuff like that. Don't you? I mean, do you just try to attack Aspinall's legs with kicks early, just to try to either get his feet moving or to get him thinking, hey, Ciryl Gane to kick the shit out of your calf. So not that it's, calf kick central, but I'm just wondering if there is a leg attack there for Ciryl Gane in that first round, just to kind of maybe catch Aspinall off base, or to try to just chop away at the tree.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think that is part of that path to round 1, as well as sort of getting on a bike. And maybe I'm wrong. We'll see how it plays out. What's interesting for me is the timing of this fight, because I think there are certainly times had John Jones not been in the picture, who knows when we might have gotten this fight. You talk about the shelving of Tom Aspinall. And I think sometimes the timing of fights matters, right? We look at Bilal Muhammad fighting Ian Gary November 22nd, right? I like the matchup very much for Bilal Muhammad, right? But I like it less and less every day that falls off the calendar, because Ian Gary is becoming a more well-rounded martial artist, becoming a better takedown defender, right? So a lot of this for me is evident of sort of the time, right? So Aspinall to me looks to be climbing toward the absolute top of his peak, whereas Ciryl Gane, I'm not sure where that is. I think maybe that peak may have passed him by already. So to me, the timing of this fight favors Aspinall greatly, but you still got to show up. You still got to do everything right. You still got to go ahead.
No. You know what I was going to say, Jay, is that I think putting Gane in this spot, no one complains, right? A former champ himself, a guy who's been in the ring with the best. And it's almost like now that John Jones is out of the picture, I feel like this is the beginning of the rebooting of the heavyweight division, right? Aspinall's been out of the ring. We need to get him a fight. Wasn't Aspinall kind of like half in camp and continuing to train because he just didn't know what was happening with John Jones? So now he cranks it up for a couple of weeks. He fights a guy like Gane. He's got championship credibility. None of us blink at this as a main event. It's one that we're more than willing to watch. But I feel like now it's going to be, if Aspinall beats Gane, then it becomes the who's next, and we get into the pecking order like we have in the other divisions, because there was just the impediment in the way of, hey, is John Jones kind of in or out? So I feel like, Jay, for me, this is almost a resetting of the heavyweight division. Aspinall gets a win, and then we start to book him accordingly every 3 or 4 months from there.
My least favorite question, great stuff there from UFC fans, is, why aren't there any stars? Why aren't there any stars? See Tom Aspinall, right? I'm telling you, this guy, I absolutely love his personality. I love every answer to every question. I love the way he conducts himself. I love the way he treats people. My brother has superlatives for days about this guy. And so to your point about him being on the shelf, right? For a promotion that if Merab Dawalish-Willie is your biggest star, right? Aspinall just hits differently. I love Marab, but you got a heavyweight champion, right? That is the whole package. So, we got this fight, and we even talk at the outside of the show, right, about traveling to UAE or wherever, right? Get this guy in Vegas, right? Next year, going to be on Paramount, maybe something early, and then the White House. I mean, get this guy on my screen.
Well, I'll tell you what it is, Jay. The heavyweight division has always sold. Whether it was boxing in the 80s, George Foreman came back in the 90s, and we loved him because in part he was big grandpa, but he's 6'4" and 280 pounds. We've always loved the bigs in the combat sports, even in the faux world of wrestling. I know that's changed a little bit, but think about it in the 80s. Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, King Kong Bundy. It was people that you would notice in an airport, so to speak. And that's why this is so important because, Jay, I'm with you. Aspinall can talk a little bit. He's massive in his home country, and that's something that we hear. We never give credit to people who are international fighters and how big they are in their home countries.
Can I interrupt you there?
Please.
Did you see Charles Oliveira going down the elevator?
Did.
Oh my, dude.
It's like the Beatles, dude. Really.
And Gilbert Burns has told me that that Charles Oliveira in Brazil, because Gilbert is a pretty big star in Brazil. He said Charles Oliveira in Brazil is just bananas. Real quick, there's another title fight here. Virna Jandiroba, Mackenzie Dern. I know.
Wow, that was pretty good. That was good. I would have said Jandiroba.
Well, it's Jandiroba. We could go, but for days. But I'm just going to tell you, you can talk to me all you want about the main event, but I have to be honest with you. I don't work for the promotion, and all this footage of Mackenzie Dern in a bikini and cutting weight. I don't even know how to talk to you about the fight. My goodness. Go ahead.
Yeah, she's a smoke, man. And here's the thing for those who don't know what we're talking about. Let me just lay it down for you, okay? In certain worlds, there are some people where you would describe a lady and say they are certain hot, right? So there might be some of you who would look at it and say, oh, she's MMA hot or she's UFC hot. No. Mackenzie Dern is just a smoke. That's the way it is. And people are just going to gawk at her and stare at her, but she's going to win a championship, I believe, against Virna. I know that there is a lot of normally where the superficial hype is where I run away from. And there's been a lot of that with Mackenzie Dern. Well, there's also a language issue here, I believe. There's only so far you can go when only one side of a fight can really be promoted and communicate with people. And I think we got to remember that. But that's a hell of a fight nonetheless. And to me, Mackenzie Dern, even though, she's a 9.5 or a 10, she is a legitimate big star and a big time fighter in this world.
Yeah. And Cody, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe this is the belt being vacated by, what is it? Yan Xiaona, or is it, it's by Valentina, or is it Zhang Weili? Weili. Yeah. But dude, that's the only thing for me is when you have as DC says, the greatest athlete on the planet next to Shohei Ohtani, Zhang Weili, right, vacating a belt for these two. But Virna is game and confident, but I think you bring up a good point about Mackenzie Dern, because the promotion would love to have her by this relinquishing of the belt by Weili. You get Mackenzie Dern as a champion. It's not as if Mackenzie's on some long fight win streak. So yeah. And Cody said Dern said if it was Zhang Weili, she wouldn't be ready. So there you go.
How about Bautista Nurmagomedov? Do you have any thought on that? I know for a lot of just average fight fans, they will see the last name Nurmagomedov and probably just bet him outright.
Yeah, it's interesting. Minus 575, it's a big number. Mario Bautista, I believe last time I was out against Patchy Mix, right? Upset the apple card there, if I'm not mistaken. So doubt Bautista and his 7-fight winning streak at your own peril, if you will. But Heat main card, Volkov, Jalan Almeida, and my favorite fighter that I don't know personally, Ludovic Klein, minus 135 versus Mateusz Halmbecki. I don't know if I got that pronunciation's tough, but Ludovic Klein is a very interesting fighter. Not maybe as active as I would like, but I think he has a lot of potential. He beat our guy Ignacio Balmundes. couple years back.
Interesting there. That's a good nugget. I'll dive in on that.
But anyway, before we move on to football, Gresh, if you and your boys are playing anything in the UFC, don't be afraid to text me some plays or put some out on Twitter. I like knowing where your UFC action. You had a pretty good night gambling at UFC 320, so keep me posted.
Yeah. We did have a nice night. I definitely will. I haven't. You got me now interested in Klein. I see minus 135. I like those kind of numbers.
Cody,
in terms
who do you
of
like in that? See, Cody likes
in some parlays.
Rumbeski. Cody, you like Rumbeski, or you like my guy Ludovic Klein?
Oh, I like Klein, baby.
All right. Just want to make sure, because Cody is much more of a mixed martial arts savant.
There's no question. He's a sharp, baby. He is a sharp. And you know who's looked sharp now for 7 weeks in a row has been Drake Maye and the New England Patriots. This time they go to Tennessee and beat the Titans. What was it? 31-13, I think ended up being the final. Couple of touchdown passes for Drake Maye. Early in the third quarter, they force a mistake from Cam Ward. Chason gets the ball, hop right up to him. Thank you, free touchdown. Took the air out of the stadium early third quarter. I'm a believer in teams like Tennessee, Jay, and I said this on TV on Sunday. Give them a reason to quit. Really. Give their coach got fired. Give them and you know what? That fumble, Chason pumps it in the end zone. It's 31-13, and Tennessee just laid down after that. And I'll tell you, to me, the grow-up moment for the New England Patriots was the way they handled that game from when they went up 31-13 to the end of it. You know, they limited mistakes. They limited their risk. They were comfortable in who they were. They had the lead. Everybody did what they had to do to make sure it didn't go one way. Like, they didn't have to extend the lead because, to me, I think they could have put 50 on this team if they wanted to. But the defense, ended up holding true. And to me, that was a grow-up moment, because that was, how do you handle prosperity? They handled it pretty well, and they did it on the road too.
Great stuff. And you texted us in the group before, and you said, and I quote, and I couldn't believe this was under AG, Andrew Gresh, on my phone. I'm fired up, comma. Right? This doesn't happen with Gresh. Gresh not fired up about the Patriots in the way that when Gresh says, I'm fired up, the Pats win, there was a grow-up moment. I absolutely love everything you said, right? And I love that when you started, you're like, what was it, 31-13? Gosh, doesn't it feel like the Brady days where it's like, they beat Carolina. What was it, 42-6 or 42-13?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting, Gresh. I couldn't agree with you more. I'm sitting here watching this Tennessee game early on, my mom's here sweating it. She had to go, she's a realtor. She had to go show a property. The Patriots are losing at halftime. And I said to my mom, I'm like, they're going to be rolling when you get back. It's unbelievable how predictably good this team is. And Gresh, at the beginning of the show, you talked about the word unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And the hyperbolic nature of the word unbelievable, how we overuse it. Your reference was to Shohei Ohtani. And I agree with you. Like the New England Patriots, I've thought about this word unbelievable, and that word does not apply, right? I've said over and over again for the past couple weeks, I believe them to be a contender. I believe they have a shot, and it's not unbelievable. We thought this was maybe possible, right? And next week they host the Browns. There's a lot to get to with that game, but I'm not surprised at all. I believe this is one of the best teams in football. I believe they could be vulnerable in certain matchups, most certainly, potentially on the road. But if you're the Kansas City Chiefs right now and you're Patrick Mahomes and you're looking at the AFC and you're just peeking, you want that New England outfit coming to town in the postseason? I don't know. Who do you fear more, Josh Allen and the boys, or a brand new test in 23-year-old Drake Maye with sort of the whole organization rolling? I'm all fired up too, Gresh.
No, I mean, I think not only the way Maye is playing, but the way this group is responding to Mike Vrabel. And you could see Patriots are now plus 135. I mean, at the beginning of the year, they were, I think it was like plus 900 or something like that. And Drake Maye, 21-23, 2 touchdowns, rushed for 62 yards. First player in NFL history to complete 90% of his passes and rush for 50 yards in a game. Maye's 91% completion rate surpasses Tom Brady's for the franchise's single game record. But what gets me is this is now the 7th week in a row where we have seen Drake Maye stack more good performances. And it's not just the deep ball down the field. Everybody is freaking out about that. To me, it is how he has improved in the pocket. And he hasn't gone backwards yet. We haven't seen the game where he runs out of the back of the pocket and does something stupid, right? We haven't seen him pull up and just run when he shouldn't when someone's open down the field. We've seen growth and maturity in the way he operates in the pocket. And that is leading to, along with some good play calling, the success down the field because he's setting his feet. He's not dancing around back there anymore. That's what really excites me about Drake Maye. I've known he's got the great arm talent, and he's proving it. But he's also thrown to some guys that are pretty damn wide open because plays are working. They're blocking it up, and he's setting his feet and throwing a good football.
Dude, great stuff there. And Stephon Diggs is twitchy. Kayshon Boutte is a big target. I mean, they're deep out there. You know, it's funny. Mike Vrabel's having a difficult time curbing his enthusiasm in moments. And one of the things about Drake Maye, a couple things quickly, and both are tied to the brain. I think he's been smarter this year. I think there were certain times where we're like, all right, young kid Drake Maye, does he have the smarts? Does little kid Drake Maye, does he have the smarts, right? I think he does. Josh McDaniels has had a perfect season, if you ask me. I mean, just even the way just hammering Ramondre. I absolutely love the way Drake Maye, but the brain, the smarts, right? You see him hit his head on the ground. You see, I brought it up last week where every game he's sort of touching his head a little bit. And I'm telling you right now, you have to be able to eliminate the thing when your head is hitting the ground after being tackled. If you're going to get drilled in the pocket and have a head injury, but hitting the ground, you got to avoid that, or else wear the Scully cap or whatever that is. But hitting your head on the back of the ground, you have to be able to avoid that fate. I see Baker Mayfield all the time be able to avoid his head. He plays with reckless abandon, and he's able to avoid banging his head.
He learned. Yep. No, I'm with you. They learned how to take a flat back bump. They learn how to fall like a wrestler and tuck their chin so they don't get smoked. I mean, Tua is the perfect example of that.
Exactly.
Remember in Cincinnati a couple of years ago, it was as if he couldn't protect his neck. It's crazy. Yep. And he ended up knocking himself out. I'm with you on that. Hey, one other note I want to add about the play action stuff.
Yes.
Let's also remember that in play action, you're making it easier for the quarterback. Okay. There have not been a lot of times this year where, like Tom Brady, we've seen Drake Maye with 4 wide receivers or 3 wides, a tight end and a running back, and him in empty and just standing back there and doing his thing the way Brady did, right? When you go play action, and it's not dumbing down the offense. It's just the way that when you're play action, it's normally 1-2. I got one guy. Here's my first look. Here's my second look. And if it isn't, I know I'm gone. It makes the decision-making process easier for the kid while he gets comfortable in the pocket. That's, to me, where McDaniels has really excelled in getting the mind right for this kid. Because when you have success, when you can just go play action 1-2, it will lead to you learning more coverages and them getting to the empty sets the way we used to see with Tom Brady and maybe them operate a little more quickly.
Great stuff. I know we're going to give you some bets for week 8, but I just want to mention one thing to you that I think is kind of interesting as the Patriots have this matchup with the Browns this week. So if you recall, in the 2018 NFL draft, Sony Michel was drafted by the Patriots 31st overall. And then Nick Chubb, his college teammate at the University of Georgia, drafted by the Browns with the 35th overall pick. Both obviously had, Sony Michel, I think he won a couple of chips, but Nick Chubb, clearly the better back in that spot, right? So it's interesting this year, right, where the Patriots selected Trevion Henderson with 38th overall, and Quishon Judkins, teammate at Ohio State, goes drafted 2 picks earlier. He started to really explode for the Browns. He, I think, is the guy you need to stop if you're the Patriots going into this weekend. I think it's interesting because Trevion Henderson, some people talk about him being underutilized. I just think, getting his feet wet a little bit. But I just thought it was an interesting comparison. Patriots didn't have the option to take both guys, right? Judkins went 36th overall. But I think a lot of people thought when Henderson slipped to the Patriots that maybe the Browns had taken the wrong guy. And it appears to me maybe they didn't.
Well, I would say this. The Patriots have other running backs. The Browns don't. So that helps Judkins getting into the lineup. And Cleveland is just ass offensively. So, yes, Judkins has had success, but none of it has really led to anything because they're just a mess on that side of the ball right now. They're playing a young quarterback. I don't know what the long-term goal seems to be there, but I'm with you. I think I got to preach some patience to people with TreVeyon Henderson.
Yes.
He did well coming in. He needs to evolve and grow on third down. Now, you have to have that happen in practice before you can trust him to put him on the field. See, this is where if Antonio Gibson were healthy, it really would have stood out, because they would have given the Henderson reps to Gibson, and then it would have felt like they're freezing him out a little bit. But we haven't really noticed in terms of the rotations, because they need the kid to be able to play. But he's got to gain some trust in practice from what I've been hearing, and they'll get him right. They'll get him right. Like, he's too good a back to not get right. And I also think, too, Jay, for some guys, not all, but for some, there is learning to run NFL style. Like, Ramondre kind of had that coming into the league, just a big physical style. I think Henderson is learning he's got to pick up his physicality to be able to use his quicks eventually. And everybody is losing their mind over it because we want the instantaneous reaction. Okay, well, the reason a rookie running back is doing well in Cleveland is because they have very little they can else do on offense, and he's really the best back they have, so they're going to go with him. If Ramondre wasn't here, they would be force-feeding Henderson a hell of a lot more.
Those points are very well taken. And while I do agree with you, I still believe Judkins has done a lot of, he jumps off the screen to me in ways, not just because he happens to be getting carries. All right. Shall we move on to our picks for week 8?
Yeah. I would say let's move on to the picks. And I may not have thrown into the chat that I tweaked mine up because I had some totals in there.
That's okay. You can keep your 3. So let me.
I made the necessary adjustments to be able to keep up with the bit the way it was intended.
And so all right. So I'm gonna take this here, right? So last week we began a bit gold, silver, bronze. We each were picking 3 NFL games against the spread. I'll tell you how we did last week, but Gresh this week switched it up, had a couple totals in there, and then a money line bet. I don't mind, Gresh. You can go that route. I just want to be prepared if we're totting out money line bets, because I used to I do another show called Last Men Standing with Tony Farmer, and we used to host a show in the Huddle last year on Oddshark, and he used to give out like Chiefs minus 400, and I was like, can I do that? Can I give out Chiefs minus 400, or do I have to lay the 9.5 here? Right. So we were always, I'm from an against the spread DNA mode in my past. But for anyone who watched last week, Gresh, we hit 5 out of 6. We were doing a silver, gold, and bronze, right? We both hit our gold picks. We both hit our silver picks. I hit my bronze. So we gave you 5 out of 6 hits, Gresh. And what I will tell you, your gold medal pick of last week was the Panthers minus 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we brought the Panthers into the Survivor contest. We were one of only 31 people. John got very aggressive, and it paid off in Survivor. So I think you were in the back of my head, your gold medal pick, right? The Panthers, and I will say, Gresh, the Panthers kind of threw up all over themselves. It shouldn't have been as close as it was. But anyway, good handicapping there. It was a Jets fade, an Aaron Glenn fade, but good stuff there. So you had the Panthers minus 2 as your gold medal pick last week. Seattle minus 3 was your silver medal, and Chargers minus 1.5, which was tough. There were a lot of people that like the Chargers.
I did not. What is up with Indianapolis? Like, I guess we have to begrudgingly give them respect.
Well, but you know how much I like Danny Dimes. I mean, and Indiana Jones, they call him now, right? So it really doesn't surprise me. It's going to be interesting to see where they take it. But I think you and I had a hilarious moment where we said, all right, fine. Well, Indiana go 14-3, and then you got Lamar Jackson coming to town, right? Round 1 in the postseason, you, I think, said maybe it's the Sam Darnold of last year with the Vikings. I think it very well could be the case. But anyway.
New England goes to Indianapolis and beats them in a divisional round. There we go.
Yeah, even better. Hopefully New England's hosting a playoff game. So you want to begin, or you want me to begin?
No, I'll go first. I'd like to go first with my bronze. My bronze pick
during the show.
So when this was Chargers minus 1.5, it was pretty easy. Now the line has moved to 3, which is a hideous number. So I was going to try to slide in Chargers money line is minus 155, but I am confident enough in them covering the 3 against Minnesota. Minnesota is one of those teams with quarterback problems. And I'm also grading a bounce here. I mean, like, I really feel like Chargers got beat at home. I know they've had some injury issues. I feel like Harbaugh rights the ship and gets them right against a team that can play some defense, and they got a great offensive player in Justin Jefferson. But what's really going on with them at quarterback right now in Minnesota? It's 2 up in the air, so I'm going Chargers -3 for the Browns.
Great stuff there. I agree with that pick. That was one that I almost went with, and I agree with you. I like the money line -155 greatly. So good.
That's a skinny money line, 155. It doesn't kill you.
I agree. And one of my friends, Ian Parker, who's an ESPN handicapper, he always used to tell me with MMA and betting straight wagers on MMA, I think he's very sharp. And he always said -180, -190, I'll go straight all day. But that was sort of his ceiling. -155, I like there. So much better than the -3. That Chargers' ability to protect Justin Herbert scares me a little bit, but that's a little bit of a Vikings fade there. I agree with you about the quarterback. And quick turn Thursday night, I like LA as well. My bronze selection for the week. Denver Broncos -3. Now they're hosting the Dallas Cowboys, right? And I have liked a lot of what I've seen from the Dallas Cowboys this season. So the Broncos are 5-2 on the year, right? They should have lost their last 2 games, right? The Jets gave them all they could handle in London. The Giants game, we could 33 points in the fourth quarter. We could go on and on, right? So I just think Sean Payton was not happy for good reason, even though they found a way to win that game. And I just think they find a way to play 60 minutes here instead of 15. I like that home field advantage in Denver. Dallas can't play any defense, right? I know they're coming in off that big win, but I just think the Dallas defense lets them down. I think that Denver defense at home does something here. I think Dallas a little bit overvalued. I think that Denver defense is legit. I think they stop Dallas's running attack, and I think they make them a little one-dimensional, maybe cause Dak to make some mistakes. But this, to me, is a bet on Sean Payton, former NFC guy with his time with the Saints. I like them to sort of get a good, solid win after a couple not-so-solid wins the prior 2 weeks.
You know what? I kind of joked about putting totals into the rundown, into the picks, but I'm running to see what the total is on that Broncos Cowboys game, because I think you said it. The Cowboys can't play no defense, and I think there's going to be points in this one. 50.5. Wow, that's higher than I thought. I figured I figured you still might be able to get it at like maybe 49 or something like that. All right, so they're vibing the same thing that I am in terms of the betting world. You're right. The Cowboys can't play a lick of defense. And, we've heard about Broncos this, Broncos that, but defensively, I do think their defensive performance does kind of change based on the opponent. And you can't ignore what old Dak Prescott has done this year and the way George Pickens has played in a Cowboys uniform. It'll be one of the tougher tests for the Broncos defense. And here's the thing about the Broncos, Jay. They just find a way to make things interesting. And from a handicapping standpoint, that scares the hell out of you.
And I feel like you and I kind of did the same thing with our bronze medal pick. And we've had a lot of conversations on my other shows about sort of the math guys versus the football guys, right? Mm-hmm. And I think both of us, we have some math mixed in, but are football guys, right? And so for us, I think Chargers and Broncos, we know there's some risk there, right? I think we know what happened to the Chargers last week, but it's a bounce back spot. When do you not make a loss become 2? When do you carry a win forward? So I think as our third best there's a reason why these are our third best selections here. There's some risk involved.
And let me tell you, if the Broncos had opened at 1.5 the way the Chargers did, that number would have got steamed up to 3 pretty quickly as well, the way the Chargers number did. All right, for my silver, you know what? Whether it's Mac Jones, whether it's Brock Purdy, the San Francisco 49ers are finding ways to win games this year. If you drafted Christian McCaffrey in fantasy, you're getting a boom year from him. He's been great. Houston can't score. I like the under in this as well, but give me it's actually -1.5 there, Code. I know you put in plus, but it's 49ers minus. Oh no, it's +1.5 now. What the hell's going on? Maybe I'm wrong on this, but maybe it's because of the quarterback uncertainty. But all I know is Houston on a short week and they can't score, as evidence of what we saw last night. Give me San Francisco to win that. Now I'm getting Holy shit.
I agree. And when you get George Kittle back in the huddle and back on that offensive line on the end, I just think I agree with you. And I honestly am not so sure the Brock Purdy, Mac Jones quarterback moves that line even an iota. So I'm with you on that point as well. I like the 49ers a good bit here. And Gresh, that's one of those where it could be sort of like the Chargers pick if you like the Texans, right? All right, they come back home and they sort of get right, but I'm with you, man. And to see that plus number by the 49ers, I'm not surprised. You said, aren't the 49ers -1.5? I like the 49ers quite a bit there, finding ways to win games. Good head football coach there in Kyle Shanahan too. I'm on that side as well.
All right, so you know what it is? Purdy is hurt. Linebacker Fred Warner is down. Right. So that's that. So it looks like that line is really reacting to injuries more than
both those guys were out last week.
Right.
That's no news.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I think the 49ers find a way, and Houston just seems to be sinking. They have no answers really for anything right now. I thought Seattle was just big and physical against them last night. Thank you, Zach Charbonnet, on the 2 tuds. I bet on the second touchdown at what did I get? I think I got it at maybe like plus 145 or whatever. All I know is I turned 100 into 225 last night on that Charbonnet second touchdown.
That will work.
Yes.
All right. My silver medal selection, my second best play of week 8 in the NFL. I'm taking the 6.5 points with the Bears at the Ravens. So John Harbaugh thinks Lamar Jackson's going to play off the bye, right? Thinks he's going to play. Yeah, right. I like the look on your face. The Ravens are 1-5, right? So to lay a touchdown here, a Bears team has won 4 straight. Just give me the 6 points. I think they keep it close. You know, this Bears team isn't perfect. I don't like some of what they're doing, but getting some good performances. DeAndre Swift looks good. Rome Odunze certainly looking like he belongs now that Ben Johnson pushing the right buttons there. And I like most of what Caleb Williams is doing. You can play some defense. I mean, the Ravens have to show me something to be 6.5 point favorites at home against a team that's won 4 straight in this league. So I'm going to take the 6.5, maybe buy it up to 7.5. Even if Lamar plays, I think there's pressure on the purple to get to 2 and 5. So
agreed. I think taking the points there is smart, whether Lamar is back or not. And here's the thing about Lamar: if they rush him back a little early, he's going to be limited. So they literally have to let this heal before they can get him back in the lineup. So I think there's a pretty good chance that Lamar is going to be out, and that 6.5 will end up feeling like a steal. You know what? There's very few times that I ride the local train, right? Where you ride the local train.
Yes.
But this is one of them, because I just don't know. I think if you're New England, there's 2 things in play here for the Patriots -7. Okay, number 1, they do have momentum. Number 2, if you're New England and you load up to take away the run against Cleveland, what do they have left? In my opinion, not a lot. But Jay, here is the part of this that I think people are forgetting about. Mike Vrabel gets fired at the end of the 23 season. He comes here at the beginning of 25. Do people remember where he spent 2024? Embedded inside the Browns organization. And don't think he wasn't paying attention. So he knows what's going on there. He knows where the holes are. I think he understands this D-line is going to be one of the best they play against, but there's other ways to attack them. This could end up getting tilted, really, if for anything else, that I just don't think the Cleveland offense is going to be able to score very much. Long-winded way of saying, give me the Patriots -7 at home against a really bad team.
Really bad team on one side of the ball. And I absolutely love that you're going there, but that Browns defense is legitimate, right? And that is probably why we're seeing this line at 7.5. But I will tell you, right? I absolutely love the play. You say oftentimes you probably know your own team best, right? And it's like the Patriots. I couldn't wait to play them -6.5 at Tennessee last week. And I am so hesitant. You know me well enough to know that I'm much more likely to bet against my teams than on them. But the eye test on the New England Patriots right now, and your point about Mike Vrabel is what takes it over the edge for me.
There you go. Yeah, me too.
This was one of those games that I didn't peek too much at. Now I'm going to look at extremely strongly. And the Patriots, I don't say lightly that I believe them to be one of the best all-around teams in this whole league, entertaining one of the worst. And Cleveland maybe a little bit overvalued off that big win at home. but it was against the Miami Dolphins. So I like that very much, Gresh. And you being on the Patriots and you sending us text being fired up about the Patriots is the best thing I could ever have in my world.
It's anti the way you wanted me to celebrate the Red Sox with you, but I just couldn't do it. I've been burned too many times by those cigarettes over the years. What is your gold medal play?
I'm going Sunday night. Aaron Rodgers at home with the Pittsburgh Steelers plus 3.5, hosting his former team, the Green Bay Packers. You know, so Steelers are 4-2. The defense has definitely been vulnerable. Plenty of people telling me before the season, oh, this Steelers defense is going to be better than it was last year. Not so much, right? They had won 3 straight before losing to Joe Flacco and the Bengals on Thursday night. Not getting any easier for the Steelers. Next week, you have the Indianapolis Colts coming to town. I think they know that, right? 2 weeks later, you're on Sunday night again at the LA Chargers, right? So I think this is a big spot. I was a little surprised to see them as a 3.5-point underdog at home here, to be honest with you, And Green Bay, Jordan Love don't look great to me. They're doing some things defensively, but Jalen Reed, who went out with an injury. He's a twitchy player. I think he's very important. Christian Watson still isn't there yet. The Packers have won 2 straight after that 40-40 tie against Dallas. I just love Pittsburgh at home here under the lights. I'm going to peek at the money line. I absolutely love the 3.5 points because I just believe in them in this particular spot.
The hook helps, doesn't it? Right? Like as a decider. Because I'm with you. I think Pittsburgh at worst is competitive in this game, and that's where that hook might end up really paying off. So
I'm seeing it at 3 now, by the way, on DraftKings and Hard Rock Bet here. So there you go.
But you know what? You get that hook. That's something. And look, I think a lot of what you said rings true. And we know that deep down, Rodgers wants to stick it to Green Bay. He'll never come out and say it, but, he's a spite and malice guy deep down, I think, for as much as he's into his crisscross applesauce and ayahuasca stuff and whatnot. He wants to stick it to them. And I'm with you. Early on, the bounce of having Micah Parsons really defined Green Bay early. But I'm with you. There's something missing, right? They need a little something extra in Green Bay, and I don't exactly know what it is, but I don't think they have it on the roster. They're just a half a step away from being there, I think, in the NFC. I'm kind of with you on that.
Good stuff, and they were at Arizona, right? So it's a back-to-back road game, a little bit of extra time here for the Steelers as well, which I like. And Aaron Rodgers, I thought, looked great last Thursday night despite the loss. So I think the Steelers are able to sort of get right a little bit. That Green Bay offense is very stagnant at times. They lost to the Browns earlier this year, playing with their food a little bit. So I like the Steelers a good bit there. I may play that money line today.
Very good, friend. So there you go. We have given the picks once again. We gave you 5 of 6 winners. Jay leads 3-2 in terms of the gold medal picks. You can catch me on Saturday and Sunday morning this weekend on Sirius XM Mad Dog Radio, getting you ready for the day in college football and in the NFL on Sunday, and then Sunday night on the Infinity Sports Network. And of course, for those of you who do have WPRI, CBS, and Providence locally, you can see my big old ass on there at 11:30 in the morning and at 11:30 at night.
Love it.
So I haunt your 12 hours of football, a little bit going in and a little bit coming out. And Jay, you got DBX4, and you're hitting the road once again, baby. There we go.
Yes, one week.
The long flight to Nashville.
Yeah, Nashville, Tennessee. DBX goes on the road for the first time. We've done all our shows in Miami. This is the first one on the road, October 30th, Halloween Eve, live from Nashville, Tennessee. I think the building holds 4,500, 5,000 people, so that should be fun, doing some post-fight interviews with, a bigger building full of fans. So I'm looking forward to it. Gable Steveson headlining. So pretty fired up. I don't know where gas will slot in next week, but I'll be on a plane probably at this time, but we'll find a slot.
No, we'll definitely find a slot. And the debut of Gable Steveson in DBX.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Can't wait for that.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm. You know what? I need to see him because I was going to say, how is that guy going to survive in that world? I'm sure he'll do okay. Don't get me wrong. But they're not going to put him in there against, Tyson Fury or anything like that out of the jump.
Yeah, we'll see what Billy Swanson's got for him. But
if big Billy Swanson, I like it.
But if anyone hadn't seen Stevenson's MMA debut, go watch that, right? And go watch some. He's hitting some pads with John Wood. He knows what he's doing. Go ahead.
I know it is a different brand, but they announced that bare knuckle fighting is coming back to Mohegan, and my kid who's at Pitt, he's the one who alerted me because he follows all their stuff and was like, hey, they're coming back. We got to go. So tickets already locked. We know we're getting Pepe's Pizza afterwards. We got
when are they coming? When is that?
It's I think it's either early or mid-December. They're coming back down there.
Do you think there's a chance that Platinum Mike Perry could fight on a card like that at Mohegan?
Yes, I do. And I'll tell you why. That's an 8,000 seat arena. And I know they've done good gates in Philly and stuff like that. But to me, they do pretty good. Like they're in the 4,500 to 5,000 range. But if you want to fill that building, put Mike Perry and his big mouth on the card and you will see people show up. I'll tell you.
I love it. Well, that may get me on a plane up there. I like it.
There's a lot of, hey, listen, come hang with us. I got the guest room. Come hang out. You're good. Free lodging. We'll smoke. We'll have, yeah. Smoke, ribeyes, all that stuff. We're in, baby.
I love it.
But seriously, that's you know what? When Bellator was still running down there, I think they had one card where they got about 7,500 people. And it was bigger names at the top of the card, but it can be done. There's a lot of good fight fans there. There's a couple of dudes out of New London who are just some, I don't want to say like thug looking badasses, but that's really what they are. They get a couple of those New England kids in there in those early fights, and the people love it. They're swinging, they're freaking out. Their mom's in the stands and shit like that, where the family's going crazy. That's where we first met Johnny Eblin's dad. His old man's
really?
Just in the stands going nuts years ago at Bellator, where we're watching his kid fight, and he's jumping up and down and going nuts. So every time we went there, we were looking for Papa Eblin. If Johnny was on the card, there was the old man just there hanging out and talking to people. It was really cool. That's the fun part of MMA, is that if you're going to meet some people who know the people that are in the ring. It's real, like grassroots. They're not sitting in luxury suites and stuff like that. They're sitting in section 101 with Uncle Chucky. They just got their big beard. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I know you got to get us out of here, but we've talked about Johnny Eblin before. For those of you who are just UFC fans, Johnny Eblin is one of the best mixed martial artists that maybe you've never heard of. So EBLEN, go look up that guy. But I know you got, where are you going?
Badass.
You got some 11:30 today. What do we got?
I got a thing I got to do.
Sorry.
Well, leave it at that. No. You know what? Yesterday, my father-in-law woke up and decided to just get my oldest a car. So my Monday got completely disrupted because it was, we need paperwork. We need this. We need that. It was like, it was like one of those, like a sperm of the moment type thing. It just boom, and there we go. And it was like, oh shit. So yeah, I got a little extra to do on the plate today. I knew Cody would like that. Thank you very much. It was a good line there. I appreciate you all. We appreciate you all in watching Gas. You catch us here each and every week. We will see you next week at some point on the weekly calendar. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you here on Gas.